Шановні пані та панове,
Dear ladies and gentlemen, the President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, and the President of the Republic of Lithuania, Ms. Dalia Grybauskaitė. And to the welcoming word, we invite Maria Ionova. Dear guests, dear Mr. President, dear Ms. President, and all of the participants of the Second Women's Congress, we are glad to welcome you here, the honorable guests, and we've been preparing to this event during the year, and we do believe that we've seen already today that this is a very important event in our country's life. The meaning of this Congress is to demonstrate is how actual and temporary is the question for gender equality in all spheres of life of our country, and this is a very good sign that the highest authorities of our country support us, and among our honorable guests there is the President of Ukraine, Petro Oleksievich Poroshenko, and the President of Republic of Lithuania, Ms. Dalia Grybauskaitė. I hope that participation in our Congress of such honorable guests would become a good tradition, and we are going to welcome you next year as well. And on behalf of the Equal Gender Caucus in Verkhovna Rada, I would like to welcome and give the floor to the President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. I would like to express my gratitude to Maria, because I'm very pleased and honored today to be among all of you. And I'm very pleased that before our meeting, Masha said that the inspiration of having this Congress, the initiative which was done in Lithuania, in Vilnius, and it's very symbolic that today we with Ms. President are taking part in this Congress, and thank you for this invitation. Thank you very much for your invitation. And coming to the official part of my speech, dear Ms. President of the Republic of Lithuania, Dalia Grybauskaitė, dear members of Parliament, honorable members of government of Ukraine, honorable international members of Parliament and representatives of different organizations, dear participants and Congress guests, dear friends. Ukraine is the place where the term woman power is very up to date. Who speaks the most courageously about the problems? These are Ukrainian women who have accepted one of the first strikes on Donbass. It was the women of Ukraine who brought to Ukraine the chess crown, the Muzyczuk sisters, who actually started hashtag I'm not afraid to say even before hashtag #MeToo started in the world social media. Maybe you don't know, but it was also the participation of Ukrainian women. And this list is endless, because since the ancient times, Ukrainian women were always together with Ukrainian men, protecting, building, growing our country, and the way of Ukrainian state making is full of half-warrior Amazons and very, very realistic historical people. And probably in this room it would be hard to find somebody who knows about the sister of the establishment of our capital, Libich, or Princess Olga, who actually was the first person to accept Christianity, or Anna from Kyiv, Anna Yaroslavivna, who actually the neighboring countries' leaders tried to talk about, and probably you also know about Lesa Ukrainka, Maria Primachenko, Katerina Belokur, and you know probably also such person as Olena Stepanev, and it's very symbolical. On the 7th of December, 1892, it's her birthday, and her contribution to the history was the first woman who was accepted to the military service as an officer, the first woman in the world, and she was from Ukraine. Ladies, you haven't invited Mushenko. I think it would be very useful for him. And to get to the battlefield, it was very complex. She received a lot of denial because people considered that women shouldn't be in the military service. But she actually started her military service, and he was captured to the Russian, and where she was actually accepted as an officer. And the story of Olena Stepanev's life is very up-to-date, because today we try to protect the Ukrainian state, and for independence of our country, our women fight as well, our prominent women together with the men. This year, there is one significant event. For the first time in Ukraine, the military state of the general was given to a woman, the general major of the medical service. There was the head of the medical service of Ukraine, Ludmila Shuhaliy. Let's give her a round of applause. I cannot give all of the praise for this to me, but the decree actually was signed by me, because a very nice pushing force demanding that in Ukraine we should have a women general, it actually played its very important role. And the colonel service is given to approximately 70 women in the Ukrainian military service. And I would like to stress it one more time. They were given this title because of their high professional qualities, not because of their gender. And taking this opportunity, I would like to express my gratitude to all military women in Ukraine who in these hard times protect our land, protect our state, and prove by their example that protection of the state, the contribution of both men and women, is equally important. And in October, I have signed the law about the creation of equal opportunities for serving in the military service for men and women, where women can serve at the same conditions as men, and nobody, after exception and adoption and signing of this law, cannot put limits to women's right to protect and to serve the motherland. And today in Ukraine, in the military service, most than 330,000 women serve, and the thousands of them is officers. And I give the order to the Ministry of Defense and to the General Office of Military Forces to start implementing this law in a practical way. Dear ladies and gentlemen, Ukraine is the only one country which accepted the National Plan to Implementation UNO Security Resolution 1335, Women, Peace and Security, and this all is done in the conditions of the military aggression. And one of the first points in this plan, this is the provision of involvement of women in international process, negotiating groups, and the bright example for this success, this is the representative's activities, Ms. Irina Gerashchenko, who is very resilient to protect the interests of our country as a commissioner. And women should be involved to fight the threats from inside and from the outside, and to protect women on the territory of military conflicts. And we have a lot of things to boast in terms of this. I would like to stress one more time that Miss Irina, as competes with many men and proves her effectiveness and her loyalty to her tasks, and she takes 2 positions as a first deputy speaker of the Parliament of Ukraine and President's Commissioner for Peaceful Situation Resolution in Donetsk and Luhansk region. And the only people who actually don't like her are, I can't even say that these are not the members of the 3-party group, but those people who actually, Ira, don't pay attention to this. You have the full support of the whole people of Ukraine in this process. And we are grateful to her, as also to many women in important state positions. I like to introduce everything in Ukraine for the first time. For the first time, the representative of President in Verkhovna Rada is Irina Lutsenko. The ombudsman post is actually fixed to women, and the person who is working there is Lyudmila Denisova, and she is so patient, and as you know, during one of the TV broadcasting, she even lost consciousness for some time, and she had to have some support from the president, and actually the president always ready to give you support. Dear Congress participants, I cannot mention the question, the domestic violence, and this issue of domestic violence among the member states of the Council of Europe. There is a convention of the Council of Europe for prevention of domestic violence against women and fighting this. We have signed it in 2011, and as for today, it is ratified by 33 states, and it's a pity that in our country there are still some manipulations in this field. For example, in terms of understanding the notion gender, I would like very clearly to call and to insist, and we should stop the inside procedures and ratify the convention. Why shouldn't we consider this at the next session of our parliament? I have the commitment for our European colleagues, because when we talk about Ukrainian way to Europe and to European Union, everybody says yes, and when to vote for the convention, here we have some problems. So we should unite the talking and the doing things. And we are going to prove our commitment of Ukraine and Ukrainian people to European values, and we should create all of the opportunities for the society, not only the woman, but the whole society to feel secure, and women to be protected by the law. And I would like to attract attention to the implementation of the Council of Europe project as for the access to women to justice. And I would like to stress that this is very significant for the forming of our state. It's an important tendency when we have a lot of women within the judges, and this is the right tendency. I would like to underline that the basic 6 strands of the European Union gender strategy are very up-to-date for Ukraine. This is prevention and fighting gender stereotypes and sexism, and prevention and fighting domestic violence and violence against women, equal access to justice, the balance of participation of women in political life and decision-making, and the protection of migrant and refugee women rights for those who seek asylum. This is a very burning issue for our society as well, and we have to be ready and to treat it in the right way. I am sure that we are going to feel a lot of progress in provision of these targets, because the strategy implementation involves a lot of powerful forces. For example, the deputy for the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine for European and Euro-Atlantic integration, Ms. Ivanna Klimpush-Tsendzadze, and also the Commissioner for the Gender Policy, Pani Irina Levchenko. Katerina, I know that today you have a birthday, so accept my congratulations. Still, we have a lot of issues to fight in terms of gender inequality, and one of them is the discrepancy in salary, because average salary for men is 21% higher than an average salary for women. But in comparison with 2016, this gap is reduced in 4%. And the consequences of this inequality are very serious, because the women's pension when retirement is 3% lower, and this is unacceptable when within the structure of power of poor population we have 65% of women who are retired. This statistics proves that we should take very clear measures to fight this problem, and I think that the Minister for Finance of Ukraine will do this job greatly. I have signed the budget now, but I would like to welcome you, Oksana Makarova, recently appointed the Minister of Finance of Ukraine, who is going to implement the steps which were actually introduced by the previous Minister of Finance, Natalia Yaresko, whom I actually invited to work with my government. To conclude, I would like, one more thing. There is also the Minister for Veterans Affairs of Ukraine, Ms. Irina Fries. Irina, I don't see you, unfortunately. Okay, come here, join us. Now you are the minister. Don't be very modest and shy. And to conclude, I would like to say that we are trying to build the real European state, and our task and our joint responsibilities to treat every personality respectfully, without bias, without discrimination, keeping gender equality, and women actually make the most of population from Europe and Ukraine. And it's a pity that in Ukrainian parliament, if I am not mistaken, 12%. Okay, let it be 12%, because 12% of women, of all of the members of parliament are women. But I agree that this is unacceptable. This is the figure is too small. And so I also should admit that this is the best part of our parliament, this 12%. Though the biggest, this 12 or 11%, this is the biggest number in all time of the existence of Verkhovna Rada during the independence of Ukraine. But still, I would like to remind you that in Europe, this value is 23%. So if we go into Europe, we should meet the same requirement. The quotas in the election law, this is the European practice, and the high level of representative of women in Scandinavian countries' parliaments was achieved because quotas, and this is logically that interfractional gender equality. When I participated when I was a member of parliament in 2013, I proved these points, and I still prove them. Verkhovna Rada of this Verkhovna Rada started the process of ensuring gender equality in 2015. They adopted the law about the local elections and gender quotas, and increased the number of women, of their representatives in regional and city councils. Of course, statistics is not our top priority. We should understand that the real quality participation of women in decision-making is necessary. Everywhere where it calls for changes, the willpower, we will see the women for sure. And this is woman power, Ukrainian style, the phenomena that I think we cannot think over totally, but we are moving in this direction, and this phenomena, this is free energy of change, of freedom, which gives us the belief in future, the trust in future. And I would like to thank everybody who is representing the caucus Equal Opportunities. I think that you haven't expelled me, I guess, and Ms. Olena Kondratyuk, Ms. Svetlana Wojciechowska, Ms. Alona Babak, Ms. Maria Ionova. Look at Maria. Yeah, Maria, let's give her a round of applause. I would like to thank you for this initiative in organization of this Congress. Dear friends, glory to Ukrainian women and glory to Ukraine. Mr. President, thank you for your support and for your participation, but you haven't mentioned one woman, Marina Anatolievna Poroshenko, because she takes care of these questions as well. This woman is familiar to you, I guess, and I would like to give the welcoming word to our great friend of Ukraine, and this is a great honor for us, Ms. Dalia Grybauskaite, the President of the Republic of Lithuania.
Very happy to be with you. And it is good that you're starting to unite and to feel your power, that you're starting to support each other, and that you're becoming an example for your society, for men, and your kids. In times of difficulty, usually women go first. Your country is in war. Your country is in the fight for economic prosperity, and it is in fight for European future. And why? Because of that, women need to be first. I remember then we been in crisis in 2009, Lithuania. At that time we had defense minister lady, finance minister lady, and president lady, and Speaker of Parliament later. So that's exactly why. Sometimes we're joking that the man is trying to show his grace and allows us to go first through the door. So it's not necessarily everywhere it is good to be the first. But then the difficulties come in countries. Who takes responsibility the first and not afraid to do it? Of course, women. Because they know what responsibility means, they're starting to learn it from childhood, in family, having and raising kids, and protecting their families. Today, then you are in war. Then you people are protecting your country. Women are in front lines also. As President said, you have 50,000 women in military. And of course, as in my country also, they are the best example for everybody and for men. And so why? Such kind of congresses allows you to share the experience, allows you to feel important, respected, useful for your societies, and it allows you to feel self-confidence. It's not about differences, жінки or чоловіки. Чоловік is жінка, not чоловік. I'm sorry, it's my language which surprised me, because in our language, for example, or in English, men and women. In your language, жінка and чоловік. So sounds already a little bit discriminatory. But okay, it's a little bit to soften my tone, because In press conference, I already talked very seriously about aggression against your country again, repeated open aggression, about the threat of open war with a neighbor, and that women are always standing and never be afraid then the country is in danger. And so I wish this Congress not only to protect women, this Congress to teach society that the women's empowerment and participation in the society's activities is the largest reserve for development, for prosperity, and even for defense. Because I know, and we talked a little bit, I will say one secret, that the best snipers usually are women. That is proved. That is proved not only in your country, but in mine also. So, and snipers not only directly, but snipers in other meaning that they are more precise in doing the job, more responsible sometimes in doing the job, and targeting the topics the best. So why this kind of congresses are not only to protect you, but also to show other women that they are needed in society, that without you, societies are half empty. Why it is important for more and more women to be present in politics, because politics decides a lot in any society. So I wish you to be proud of what you're doing, to be proud of your country, because even us, Baltic states, we never had such difficult times. Even 30 years ago, we went from Soviet occupation, but we had no open war on our territory. We had economic blockade from Russia. We had no fuel, no heating, but we had no war. You are in state of war. You under attack of the neighbor in 21st century, and you able to live your lives, to grow families, to create prosperity to your country. And why? Nobody has such experience as you. Nobody other can do what you are doing. So be proud about yourself, support your country, be active in your country, and your country will have perfect future. Thank you.
So, Mrs. President, thank you so much for this words for your
Participation and hope to see you next.
we
І зараз, якщо можна, ми ще попросимо на згадку зробити спільне фото з усім залом. Ми просимо залишати всіх на своїх місцях.
We kindly ask you to take pictures, or we kindly ask to stay at your places, and then we're going to continue with Mr. Mikhailo or the Second Ukrainian Women's Congress. So, well, we're going to take a picture together. Thank you. I would like to stand up and let's stay at your places. Thank you so much. So we ask you to stay at your places. So we're going to start our next panel. So we would like to express our thanks to Mr. President and Mrs. President. And we are looking forward to see them back next year. So in a few minutes, we will start our third panel. So, dear guests, we kindly ask you to stay at your seats. In a few minutes, we will start the third discussion panel, and it will be how the international commitments influence the observance of equal rights and opportunities in security sphere, Ukrainian experience, and global perspectives and experiences. So we kindly ask you to stay at your seats, please.
Пані та панове, за 3 хвилини зміняться
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue our presentation.
міжнародні зобов'язання на дотримання рівних прав та можливостей жінок і чоловіків у сфері безпеки, український та світовий досвід. Dear ladies and gentlemen, in some minutes we will start the third discussion platform, how international commitments influence the observance of equal rights and opportunities in security sphere, Ukrainian experience and global perspective. Пані та панове, просимо займати свої місця. За лічені хвилини, 2-3 хвилини, ми розпочинаємо третю дискусійну платформу. Просимо зайняти свої місця. Ми розпочинаємо за мить. Шановні гості, третьої дискусійної платформи «Як впливають міжнародні зобов'язання на дотримання рівних прав та можливостей жінок і чоловіків у сфері безпеки. Український та світовий досвід». Представляємо модераторку цієї платформи Анастасію Дівінську, представницю ООН «Жінки в Україні».
Ladies and gentlemen, we continue our work and we kindly invite moderator of this very platform, Mrs. Anastasia Dvinska, so representatives of UN Women in Ukraine. So we would like to kindly introduce you to us this following panelists. Mrs. Ivana Klimpush-Tsintsadze, Vice Prime Minister, Ms. Irina Freeze, Minister of Veterans, Mr. Tyana Kovalchuk, Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, Ms. Marilyn Brucker, Committee Royal at Australian Navy, Catherine Pavlichenko, the head of the Ukrainian Association of Women in the Law Enforcement, deputy head of the Department of Petro Police of the National Police of Ukraine, Mr. Gasparin Andranik, Lieutenant Colonel. Mrs. Anastasia, the floor is yours.
And colleagues, the second Ukrainian Women's Forum is taking place amidst the global mobilization towards 2019 and 2020, when we will be celebrating the several big dates, and we will celebrate the normative gains which we earned over the last several decades. In 2019, we will celebrate 40 years of the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the so-called Women's Human Rights Bill, or Bill for Women's Human Rights, which was ratified by 189 countries, including Ukraine, and Ukraine was among the first countries to ratify this convention. In 2020, we will celebrate 5 years anniversary of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is also known as Agenda for 2030, and 2030 was agreed by the member states of the United Nations as the expiry date for gender inequality. In 2020, we will also celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Fourth World Conference on Women's Rights and the Beijing Platform for Action, which was hammered by 189 countries during the 2 weeks of heated debates. And the Beijing Platform for Action is also called the most progressive blueprint ever for advancement of women's rights. And of course, in 2020, we will celebrate the 20th anniversary of the first resolution of the United Nations Security Council 1325, which laid the ground for the adoption of the 7 other resolutions forming the so-called Women, Peace and Security Agenda. So these normative gains are solid. They laid the foundation for achievement of irreversible, measurable results for advancement of gender equality and achievement of women's human rights. And today, during the panel, we would like to discuss the practical experiences, the opportunities, and the lessons learned in the implementation of all these normative frameworks towards women, peace, and security agenda. To begin with, I'm delighted to introduce Ms. Ivana Klimpush-Tsintsadze, the Deputy Prime Minister on European and Euro-Atlantic integration. Over the last 2 years, Pani Ivana earned the reputation as a person who has made the more transformative changes towards advancement of gender equality than any other politician over the years of the independence of Ukraine, and rightly so. Several historical achievements, we owe her several historical achievements, from placing the gender equality as a strategic priority in the government's plans and policies. She also is the reason of stepping up the women, peace and security agenda in the security sector reform and placing gender equality in the higher education system of the security sector. Pani Ivana, as you look back to all these achievements and milestones, which you are the reason too, what in your opinion were the changes which would make it impossible to reverse gender equality progress in security sector, and how the results achieved at the national level will be localized and sustained at the local and oblast levels?
Thank you, Anastasia. Дуже дякую.
Thank you so much. I would like to say that extremely pleased to be here And I think that that's an absolutely important event which was organized with the special interfraction fund and union, the equal opportunities. That's become the tradition. It's become the and very encouraging, and it's really encouragement for us to have this opportunity to believe that these changes we're working on very actively together with the parliament. So it's extremely important that the government is working so hand by hand with the parliament, and it's irreversible, these changes, and it's very pleased to see that we are the first government during the history of Ukraine who prioritized the issue on providing the equality between men and women, and then we're following this priority, and we're just following to realize all the tasks. So we realized all the tasks we created for 2018. So we're also following the priorities for the year 2019, and we are dealing with all that tasks linked to the provision of the gender equality. And for us in Ukraine, for all of us, during this military aggression from the side of the Russia, and so for us, it's very important to have this so-called presence and involvement, and to have this potential, at least actively participating from the half of the society, and it's very important for us. But unfortunately, the World Peace Index is unfortunately decreased for 2.4%, but in Ukraine, we'd rather say that this index also dropped down because of the aggression from the side of Russian Federation for the last few years. As unfortunately, we are taking the 152nd place regarding the peace index. So, well, we cannot solve this problem using our efforts, and we're expecting to have the specific support from the side of the international partner, and I think that's a great support which was demonstrated during this very forum. But we are, for the current moment, we are the only country in the world, despite of this actively military phase, so we just accepted the national plan on realizations of the resolution of UN 1325, women's safety. So we adopted it in the beginning of 2016. So, and for us, it's very important to follow these priorities. So we are one of the 79 countries, those who are having this national plan to be realized. So, well, we just, adopted this new so-called renovated plan. So, well, and we also are in the process of so-called upgrading of this plan. So we do have the Ministry of Veterans, and for us it's a lot of tasks to be provided for those who are involved into the safety issues program, and also to include all these tasks into the work of the Ministry of Veterans. And I hope that we'll be working together with Mrs. Irina. So what we've done, we just, enforced this type of institutionalization from the side of the high-level authorities from up to our bottom, so from highest level down to the bottom. So, well, and we expecting together with the UN Women, with NDI, with other projects, gender-oriented budgeting, we want to provide to the people, to the specialists, this methodology, these tools, which would be very useful for them to use the maximum potentials and to realize all the tasks from the central level and to deal it on the local level. So we came to the conclusion that we decided to find the specific group of people to satisfy their needs and to focus the process of realization of this very plan. So, well, it's also we're focusing on the family of missed people, just those who were combatants, or just those who were tortured, being military prisoners and others. So, well, and and for us, we just, decided to deal with these priorities, and for us, we understand that these instruments we are having already for dealing with this issue, so we understand how to do, what to do, but we need to have the involvement, so massive involvement on the different levels just to realize all these policies, because in the end of October it was the new law signed, and the men and women should be represented their equal basis, and then it should be the equal responsibility. The very important element, how to provide the balance of the representatives of women in the military forces. And I'm very glad to say that last year in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs we had the advantages to provide the genders counselors and advisors, and it's right now it's 60 ladies in the Ministry of Defense already working, and they are working on the level of the gender advisors, and that means that the general headquarters also is developing this positions, and then we have to use this institutional process, and then we are very proud of what is going on right now. So we have to have lots of things to be done, but it's a great opportunity for us. And then I think there is a very important thing our president had not set for us. So during the parade, we saw the Department of the Women Military, and we've been so excited. We've been so excited that we all together, we've been also not being the defenders, but also we are defenders on the diplomatic front. We can respect the specific feelings, and to show our respect to all the people who just, participating during the military parade. So, I think that, we have to close, and we have to go with the schedule.
Among those who are present today, there is not a single person who would not feel the first results or the impacts or effects of the concerted, consolidated efforts towards advancing gender equality in this country. So this is a result of placing gender equality and recognizing it as a strategic priority. So this is what Ukraine has done, and this is the rest we are seeing as the consequences of this strategic decision of the political and demonstration of the political will. Several times during the day today, we heard about the establishment of the new Ministry of Veterans Affairs, and the name of Irina Fries was called several times. It is my true delight to introduce Irina Fries, and I would like to invite everyone in this hall to join me in congratulating her with a recent appointment in this position of the minister. Please, applause. Irina has served as the member of the Parliamentary Committee on National Security and Defense, and she was also the head of the permanent delegation of Ukraine to the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, as well as she was the head of Subcommittee of State Information System, and also she is the person who earned the reputation of the vocal advocate for gender equality both in the Parliament as well as at the international fora. Now, as you are holding the new position, the question is, in your new position of the Minister of Veterans Affairs, how do you plan to advocate for gender equality? And what do you already have a plan for specific tailored measures to support the reintegration of women veterans in the society?
So thank you so much. Frankly speaking, from one side, I get a lot of greetings. From another side, people, sorry that they say that Volodya Lagutin in the ministry, and then me, we're only two working in the ministry, and we are going to create as much communication as possible. As for the public movement of the women veterans, they are in charge of the so-called invisible battalion. We've been creating the very special video, just and we made it, and we used it on the different channels, and we will do it. We will break through this rock just to prove that our women, our military women, they are the veterans. They should have respect. They should have that's a great respect on the equal level as men. And I want to say to declare, unfortunately, to declare that the ministry is in the process of institutionalization, and unfortunately we don't have even normative documents. So well, I can only declare. So well, and the advisor of the gender issues also would be established in the ministry. The rights of the women veterans would be really written down in the law on veterans. So we're going to have the new law on veterans and the members of their families, and we hope that this new current law on veterans is already so-called out of the activity. So well, and it should be revised, and it will be the very special effort. So while we are geographically in a very specific position, that is why we have to understand that we do have the very aggressive neighbor. We have to prepare our military and our society, and we have to rehabilitating the society, and we have to do everything possible for the society to accept the veterans, but not to rehabilitate the veterans, but to prepare everything for the society and in the society to accept veterans. So we have to create the specific ideology of the working with veterans. So ministry is the lobbyist, the protector of the rights and advocate. And then I'm too realistic in my attitude towards the terms as for the activity and then as for the normative base, because we have to create everything for further working. And I understand that I also have the need to specifically design this structure, and we should be very careful for the next ministers not to use this opportunity for the personal PR or other things, and that is why I would do my best to control the veteran organizations and to use the public control, and then to involve veterans for involving into the process of developing of this relationship. And all the work of our ministry would be also based on the tenders, and we also should be very careful regarding the so-called projects, budgeting, etc. So we have to encourage you to create the ideology in this country, in our country, just to understand the term veteran. So well, in the United States, they have the doctrine of military leadership. So well, and this is very basic things. So all the military people, they just, become the veterans, and then we should understand the understanding and the term of veterans, and now we Ministry of Veterans would be responsible to provide all the advantages and all that specific support to them. And then for us, it is very important. So I had a very important meeting with the chaplain, Andrew. So well, he's absolutely a military chaplain. So well, he speaks very clearly, and he explains what is the attitudes from the side of the society towards veterans. It should be based on the responsibility from the side of veterans for themselves, for their families, for the society. So it should be based on the principles of freedom of choices. It should be also built on the systematic approaches regarding the protections of the country. So responsibility, freedom, and protection, this is the ideologically pillars for us to change the attitudes from the side of the society to the veterans. So we have to support the special assemblies of veterans. So we have to deal with them. We have to understand the equality. We shouldn't manipulate veterans and the needs of the different political interests. So we have to work on that so-called specific veterans movement to control the state policy regarding the rights of veterans. Дякуємо.
Years and plans, and we definitely understand and realize the challenges which you are facing now establishing the ministry. You can count on our support, and only yesterday we were missing you, but we launched the preliminary results of the study about the status of the women veterans in Ukraine, which will be released in early 2019, which we hope will provide you with necessary data to inform your decisions and to make those gender sensitive. And Pani Ivana had immediate comment and reaction to the idea. Yeah, you're welcome.
Якщо дозволите, я
If you let me comment, I want to inform everybody that during this work of us, we just, we worked with the gender profiles in the different oblast levels. And we found that in the different oblasts, they do have lots of local programs for rehabilitations of veterans of ATO. So we've observed the indicators of the women veterans, and I want to say that the highest level of the rehabilitation for women is 13 in Ivano-Frankivsk, and the lowest in Kharkiv and Donetsk, 3 and 4 and 8%. In Volyn, Kilovgrad, Lugansk, and Poltavska, and Chernigiv, they have no rehabilitation programs for women veterans, and so we have to pay a very special attention for Transcarpathian and other. And they didn't use these programs a lot. Maybe the programs are not in use, or maybe they are not informing the veterans that they do have this type of programs. Thank you. Дякуємо.
About the veterans movement, I would like to introduce Mr. Martin Brugger, who is a veteran with 37 years of service in Royal Australian Navy. So plenty of experience, a lot of inspiration, we hope. Mr. Brugger is also a supporter of the global He-for-She movement, which makes me very happy, as UN Women is running this global movement. Mr. Brugger led teams implementing cultural change programs in defense, and he was the program director for Australian Navy's biggest change of program, the New Generation Navy. It would be interesting to learn from you what tools and frameworks you applied in implementing cultural change programs in defense and advocacy for gender diversity and inclusion. And what were the lessons learned? What would you share with us here in Ukraine now as the Ministry of Veterans Affairs is only being established?
Well, thank you. I'm very pleased to be here. This is my first visit to Kiev in Ukraine, and I'm delighted to be here to share my experiences. I look out on the audience and I see so many faces eager to learn, eager to take this forward, and I was encouraged by the earlier panels today about the discussion. I'd like to give some context for my remarks, which is that I joined the Navy at the age of 15, in an age, late 70s, where it was a very, very male-dominated environment. Went to the officers' college that was 120 young men and no women. And I was the oldest of 3 sons. And so my view of the world was very much shaped by that, and I think it's the same for all of us, and it's the same for men here, that there is a story that they have, that the change program that we ran in Navy was around about reframing the story. You have to reframe people's story. You have to reframe people's experience. It wasn't until I had command of a ship about 20 years later that I had that experience of serving in a ship with women. But you know what? It was transparent. We all wore the same uniform. People had various roles. They were at all levels in the organisation. And the transparency of that was that it was not a matter of gender, but it was a matter of the fact that you're all there to serve your country and be part of one organisation. The Navy's motto was to work as a team, so all of that was relevant. In the implementation of the New Generation Navy program, I think there were 3 key things that were part of the strategy, which was the first level of that was about awareness, is that you have to have an opportunity for people to become aware of what the issues are. And I thank the women who had the courage to stand up and say, you know, here's an issue and we need to do something about it. It has to be part of this New Generation Navy program. Because at the end of the day, that program was about capability to meet Australia's Defence Force needs. And when awareness came, then you saw people, and particularly men, have that aha moment around about what was really important going forward. One of those programs that we run, I guess you could use a tool or a framework to describe it, was actually having a mentoring program for women, but also part of that mentoring program was to actually educate men about the challenges that women had in the workplace. And it was that program in particular that strongly influenced me as a father of 3 daughters. So the context of being a man growing up in a male-dominated environment and then understanding the issues that my own daughters would have in the workforce was fundamental. And I think you've got to almost do that. You've got to make men aware of the challenges that maybe their daughters will have, or maybe their wives will have, or maybe their sisters will have, or some female member of their family. And that seems unusual for a military organisation to have that focus, but that's what was useful. The other part, I think, the second part was acceptance, that actually this was an issue that needed 100% attention from men in our organisation. And we ran a number of initiatives to help move that forward, to help with the acceptance, for them to recognise that diversity and inclusion as part of everything that we did was important. So that included actively having women serve on governance committees and working as leaders in the organisation. The Australian Defence Force now has had a number of women. I congratulate Ukraine on having the first women Major General. We have had a number of them. And in fact, we've just had one appointed to actually command the UN mission in Cyprus next year. So at the rank of Major General. We've had those women also serve in Afghanistan. But back to acceptance, there was a lot to do about helping men understand and accept that this was needed. And the last part of it was action, and actually actively taking action, and not walking past a failure of the standards around equal opportunities and equal inclusion of both men and women in what we do. There's a very famous YouTube video of the Australian Chief of Army, some of you may have seen it, where he effectively tells people that this is the way it's going to be, and he actively takes a stand on those issues. And I think that is also fundamental, is that you need to be taking action. One of the things you can't do is outsource it. You can't have a department of change, or you can't have a department of equal rights. You actually need to have it part of line management. It needs to be part of business as usual. You need the top level of leadership in your organisation all the way down the bottom to understand that that is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing this experience. This is yet another evidence and time when we heard about the importance of men engaged and the role of men in driving gender equality. This is what we try to actively promote in Ukraine as well. And luckily we have a practitioner in our panel, Mr. Andrei Gasparyan, who is the Lieutenant Colonel and Commander of Artillery Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Andronik participated in the anti-terrorist operation in Donetsk and Lugansk, as well as he is a part of the joint forces operations now. He was awarded with the Order of Bogdan Khmelnytsky and the Order for Courage. So this is the practitioner, the man who is heading the brigade in real time and who has a lot of service women in his brigade. The question to you is, yes, obviously deserves that. Through your military career and the practical operations, what was your experience with service women? And what, in your view, should be done to encourage and to support women serving in army and to receive the support from men commanders?
Good afternoon, everybody. Greetings, and thank you that you gave us the opportunity to participate in this conference. For me, it's very knowledgeable. So what I would like to say, I'm a professional military. I'm just serving for the military forces of Ukraine for a long period of time. And since for my first position of the commander of the department, I had the subordinators, both women and men, and I was the commander of the battalion and division. So now I'm the commander, brigades commander, and also I just, of course I do have the military women around. And so what I would like to say about the peculiarities of the military service with this type of category of the military women. So they are very responsible. Ladies have the very specific responsibilities to the duties. They are very principles, very discipline-oriented. And as the sample, I would like to say that in the year 2014 was the very beginning of the conflicts, military conflicts. Those women, they had for that period of time the kids which were not adults, so they were about right now it's about 13%, but 99% of that people, of that soldiers, women, they stayed at the service. They didn't leave the army. So last year in our department, we have none of the violation of the military discipline among our women, and this is the best characteristics for women soldiers, and they can reverse the quality as the intelligence service, telephone service people, and healthcare specialists. Another thing, what we have to be done just to provide the gender equality, both for military men and military women in the military forces. So we are on the way. Lots of activities is on the way in the Ministry of Defense, and I think we do have the main ideas to improve the legal basis just to provide the possibility to reach the high positions, and we are on the way. In our Army department, we provide the positions for women. So for the year 2014, it was about 6%. Now it's higher. And the second issue is to work with men, military men, because they need to understand that to provide the ability to women, military women, it's very important to provide them the equal position. It's enlarge the ability for the state to be of high level of defending. And women should be more brave when they desire to reach the positions they want. And I think we are on the way, on the right way, and I think we will overcome so well. Thank you. Дуже дякую.
Tools and all the recommendations which you have provided, what would be your recommendation and advice to your peer male commanders who are sometimes preventing and creating artificial bottlenecks for promotion of women in the armed forces? What would you recommend and advise them?
Just to get the women general more, we have to get more women colonels. More women colonels, more women generals. More women colonels, we have to have more Semi-colonel, so well. So well. Generals are not born right at once right now, but well, generals is a process, so you have to start your career from the very simple, and then it's long way to reach this position. Thank you so much.
The law enforcement reforms and the national police reform. In our panel, we have Hatedi Kanaidze. She represents the cohort of the visionary female reformist of the last decade. Following the Rose Revolution in Georgia, she has been at the forefront of the transformative changes in the law enforcement reform of her own country, Georgia. She is also widely known in Ukraine as an ex-head of Ukraine's national police for having created a foundation for the new national police in the course of only 1 year. Among many highlights of the national police reform were the focus on the prevention and response to domestic violence and gender-based violence in general, as well as the rapid increase in the numbers of female police among police officers. It would be interesting to learn what made you, working in Ukraine, prioritize or giving a priority to such an unpopular topic of women's representation in the national police. What drove you? What triggered your action?
Does it work? Yes. Дуже дякую.
Thank you so much.
Okay, in my life to represent the two great countries, Georgia and Ukraine. And to represent probably the toughest and mesmerizing women, Georgian women and Ukrainian women. But I can say that Ukrainian women, what I saw in Ukraine, they're tough, they're strong. And you know, we as a woman, because you know, I represented Ukraine also, we always been in the front battle all the time. You know, Georgia is, the war never ended in Georgia, and the 25% of Georgian territory is still occupied. Ukraine is still in war. So I have to say that our generation of women, we had a lot of challenges and problems. But I have to say that the women in the law enforcement, especially in the criminal justice system, especially in police, we have much more challenges and barriers than some other professional women. Why? You know, historically, police especially, and the law enforcement, considered to be the male job, right? Because, there were very few women wanted to become the police officers because those women had a lot of problems. First of all, you know, some problems with the career growth, like the no promotion, because again, the male counterparts always considered themselves to be superior about women. I have to say, and it was obvious, the sexual harassment, discrimination, and a lot of other barriers and the obstacles that we had to face. But the most of all, I have to say that once women realize that we can handle police job much better sometimes than male, then it is obvious that the woman can go and work as a police officer. So how it was in Ukraine? Actually, today we have the representative of the National Police of Ukraine. I don't want to talk much about the National Police because, you know, it was in my past. But I have to say that once we declared the competition in the National Police, especially in the Petro Police, I have to say, it was in 2015, I have to say that a lot of young women applied for the job. First of all, Ukrainian women believed that they could change the society and they could change some kind of system, old system to in the new system. This was the first reason, because actually I had met all of them. The second was they believed in the, I don't want to use the word reform, but they believed in the transformation of the system. It was very, very, how to say, attractive for them. And finally, I saw the new fire in some of them, and I think that it was the number one reason that we increased the number of women in the patrol police, like from 6% to 26%. Actually, since Ukraine, I had worked with a lot of international organizations and the women empowerment, but I have to say that the Ukrainian patrol police is kind of an example how female police officers, female police officers have done their jobs, just well. And finally, what I want to say is that according to my experience, because I had been working as a police officer since 2004, and I have to say that I've been in all fires, in Georgia and in Ukraine also. First of all, we have to say that speak up. If you have any kind of problem in the police or law enforcement, you, as a woman, you have to speak up. And we have to transfer and convey the knowledge to women police officers, especially that they have to speak up about their problems. This is first. Second, we have to defend our own rights, because sisterhood, especially in the law enforcement, is very much important. And finally, I have to say that never ever give up. That is my personal experience. Never ever give up, my dear sisters, especially the young girls and kids, and especially young women, because if you ever let your male counterparts to be superior, and you are, just remember that you're brilliant, you're educated, you're mesmerizing, and you're probably the most, as young soldier and the colonel probably, if I'm not mistaken, said, the most responsible part of our society. So actually I can't talk a lot about the women empowerment because that's my primary job right now. But again, just number one, what we can do as an international society, as a government, and as an noble member of this audience, we have to remember that we have to convey the message and knowledge to young generation. Education and equity. This is a top priority for our job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Katya. So to connect what you have studied and what you laid the foundation for in the police, I would like to invite Katerina Pavlichenko, who obviously is represents one of the results of the reform in the national police.
She's a third generation.
Yeah. So Katerina Pavlichenko is known as a founder and as a chairwoman of the Ukrainian Association of Women of Law Enforcement, which primarily focuses on the peer support and advancement of gender equality in the law enforcement bodies. I would like to ask you, what made you decide that women in the law enforcement do need this association? And what initial results do you see as a result of the work of this association? What benefits do women in law enforcement bodies receive out of this foundation?
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say that for me it's a great honor to be here and to participate in this Congress. And asking your questions. First of all, I would like to prove you that, yes, it's true. I'm not scared to use this word that reforms is on the go. And we're just, dealing inside of the Ministry of for Internal Affairs and the National Police. We have this reformation process, and we are creating the conditions to provide the equality for men and for women. And I joined to the police forces in the year 2015, just in the beginning of the process of reforming. And I know that, that we are, and I'm the deputy head of the Department of Petro, Police of the National Police of Ukraine. That's a great department and very powerful body. So the system of national police, that's a bright sample of to say that the barriers we had before women previously, so well, these barriers are in the process of destruction, and they are not so obvious and clear anymore. So well, what Tati already told us, I would like to really to certify that that's really there is some changes, very positive changes, and there are lots of great numbers of women. They are in the process of making a decision to join the police forces, to other structures, and they are not joining the forces, but they're also taking the responsibilities to protect the country. But together with men, they are sharing all that trials together with men. So while they are taking the responsibilities, they are placing the leading positions. And I would like to mention that in our department, the women, they are the battalions chief or head of the battalions. They are the head of the oblast level departments. They are taking the positions of the deputy commanders, and that's very special to say that we do have these changes and this very special process of changes. And I also would like to mention that we, as I think, there is a great change in the approach towards the work of the police forces. So previously, the main accent was, and the main focus was for the strongest characteristics of how strong the person is. But now it's really the process of changing towards to the communication abilities and the communicative skills to build or to set up the communicative connections with the society. And another moment I would like to mention today is also, it's very important to say that Ukrainian society today is ready to understand that the woman can become a policeman, and the woman could come for the specific patrol schools and to be in the specific police car, and then previously was impossible, and just to ruin the system was so hard in the very beginning of the process. So I remember these first days when we launched the patrol police activity just started, and the people were so surprised how it could be that the woman could be a patrol officer and work for the law enforcement structures, because that was kind of a challenge. It was a kind of a man's profession for the rest of the society. And when we're just talking, I was presented as the also head of the Ukrainian Association of Women in the Law Enforcement Bodies. So, well, this is a very special organization established recently in March of this year. So, well, we presented the work of our organization. I think it's a great achievement. And this association was established with the initiative of the different representatives of the different agencies of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Ukraine. And it's, as of today, this association is relatively young, and this is the first in Ukraine, and it's absolutely unique. Why? Because this type of association was established for the first time in the territory of the Eastern Europe, and that's the main idea, is just to provide the equal rights and possibilities for the women working in the law enforcement system. And it's a kind of a platform breaking through the stereotypes and the barriers, and united the thinkers, those who are thinking alike, and to exchange the experience, skills to get the new new knowledges. It's very important. And also I'm talking about the association to provide the direct communication ability. And it's very important for those who are working in the law enforcement system or bordering service, national police, national guard. They all need this communication. So while the problem facing by women during the service outside of the professional service in our country or in the other countries, all these problems are the same everywhere. So well, and this type of association, they are encouraging the members to exchange the knowledges, to discuss all that existed problems and to get new experiences. What I would like to add, I would like to say that we have a lot of good, successful consolidation of the efforts of women in the world, and the very beautiful sample is the International Organizations of the Women Policemen. That's a professional organization for those women policemen. And yesterday, when I was preparing for this presentation, I saw the website of this organization. I think it's absolutely unique organization. It was established in the year 1915. It's still functioning and it's still working. And we also had this opportunity to visit the annual conference, and it was held in Canada, in Calgary. So we met the representatives from the 40 countries participants. So well, it was an honor to be a part of our delegation, and I had the opportunity to meet other representatives of the police forces, and that a unique opportunity and a great platform for exchange of our experience and knowledge. And finally, I would like to mention that it's very important to get the support and that support from the side of the leaders of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And we had previously this type of support, and we do still have this support. And our leaders of the national police forces also supporting us. We also get the support from the side of the national and international experts. And I also would like to mention that it's very important to have the support from the side of men, because it's very important. We are talking and discussing all these issues without participating and without the opinion and thoughts from the side of men. That's it. Thank you so much. That's briefly speaking, this is what I wanted to say.
You know, as I was listening to the panelists, thinking about the decades during which the generations of feminists and the global women's organizations were fighting for formulating various conventions and resolutions for advancement of gender equality, which then landed on the desks of the politicians and government officials, including in Ukraine, translated into national policies and legislation, then trickled down into the sectoral reforms such as national police and law enforcement reforms, and then were actually implemented by people like Katerina and Andronik. It is interesting what a long way it all makes to really reach the real women and men in different countries at the community level. Taking advantage of the left about 20 minutes, I would like to invite people, especially those who represent various parts of Ukraine, from oblasts and from the regions, to ask the question or to share your experiences. How are all these reforms and international frameworks which Ukraine ratified apparently impacted or did not impact any of your lives? Do we have anyone who would like to share this experience or ask the questions to our panelists? Person from the field. And a member of parliament, Alyona Babak. Yes.
Good afternoon, Alyona Babak, the member of parliament, co-chair of the Equal Opportunities and the Parliament of Ukraine causes. So well, I would like to say that we need to talk about that very special group of people, those who really need to get the special respect and care and the understanding of the needs. These are families of the veterans and those members of the family, those who were killed, of those militaries who were killed during the war. So we do have not only wives, but we do have mothers of that soldiers and military people, combatants. So I would like to pay attention on that very special issue. I need to have the support from the state, and I ask you during this highest level. This is a very friendly platform today, but please don't forget that everywhere where you continue to talk, just please make sure to say about the members of those combatants who were killed, because members of them are in majority women. Thank you. Yesterday I've been to Lviv and I had the veterans organizations, and there was a very important issue, the issue number one, and we decided that we have to develop the so-called legal normative basis, just, to support the families of the killed combatants. And we do have another problem of the military person who were also suffering from psychological traumas or the physical traumas, those who and those soldiers, former soldiers also who got these traumas after the combating. So Will and I expect to get this support and synergy from the parliament. So without that support, the question would be still open. So we have to get the support. Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. So Svinica, that's deputy of Vinnytsa's council, and I would like to express thanks to this for this event. I want to express very special thanks. In Vinnytsa, we do have lots of cool projects dealing with women, policemen. We're dealing together with this project. They are the projects of communication of the policemen, the training programs for the policemen, how to communicate with the disabled people, and also another programs with the and then focused for the family members of ATOs, and then especially for kids, and they are communicating together with kids, and they are just talking to them, they training them how to behave on the road, what to do, and this is a wonderful project, and we would be very happy to share with our experience. So if you need, welcome, and thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you. It's a great pleasure, because it's true. And then today, the police forces, that's the main vector. That's to work with the community. That's the main vector of ours. So we have community policemen, and they are working with the different public organizations, non-governmental organizations, different communities locally, in oblast level, and the very separate direction of our work that's in school. And so thank you. We are doing it to support the community. Good afternoon. I'm from Kramatorsk, Donetsk Oblast, Lily Kislitsina, the People's Deputy in Kramatorsk Council. So I would like to express the special thanks to all women that we had such a great beginning, that we have to launch this audit of the 8 social objects. And with this audit we made with the very special approach. So we involved the people, those who are disabled, and they had this opportunity for this program. And now we are in the process of implementation of this research. And I would like to say that for 1 year we already did a lot of work, but it's not enough, and we can see that the authorities just trying to deal with this accessibility. So, and it's very nice to say that Kramatorsk becoming the pioneer in this type of work. So, I would like to offer our experience to other the administrative areas and communities. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the organizers, to start this event and in regards of the implementation of equal rights. And I am the counsel of the Oblast, Odessa Oblast State Administration on gender policy. And Mrs. Catherine, I would like to express special thanks for the very powerful team you work with. You've told us that today is very important to focus on communication in the society, and we had this 16 days against the violence. So we had the very specific program, and it was competition among them. So and they started the social advertisement competition. So and there was the very special handmade competition among the kids, and we had this 16 days for this, and we started this activity with the specific support from the French embassy. So we started with the survey with the kids, and we started this center for social survey, and especially it will be focused for the kids, those who are suffering or those who suffered from the domestic violence. So they made a lot of interesting handmade panels or pictures, and the main task was the happy family. So and we provided these gifts to the police to the police force center. So on the 3rd of December, we had a working meeting with the OSCE mission, and then there was the 1325 plan discussion of women, peace and safety. So we've been preparing to this working group so especially, and so I'm at the situation that we have the gender policy competition on the level of national and there have been a lot of analyzing of the websites, etc. So, and I would like to ask you to implement this plan in the sphere of the protection of the state. So, well, it's too far. So, well, I want to ask you to support us to deal with this on the regional level. It's very important. So, on us.
I would like to give the floor to the panelists for reflection. Thank you.
My name is Hanna Latova. I am the member of the Donetsk Oblast State Administration, Kramatorsk, and Association of Women Pani. I would like to express my special thanks to Patrol Police women, and we launched this type of project, and that's a kind of a self-protection lessons for women. We started to deal with it, and we just launched this project together with the Patrol Police, and that's a great reform, and it's a cooperation with the community. Thank you so much for the support.
Final reflection.
Я дякую. І знову ж таки, це прекрасно, коли ми
Thank you so much. Thank you so much that we can encourage and inspire each other. If we just unite our efforts, then everything would be for good. So what really proving me that it works, especially when we see that that's irreversible changes. You know me, I asked to do this specific research on the specific issues. How in Ukraine we can accept the process of provision of the equality of the men and women. So, and I would like to remind that on the high level, the society under this pressure to accept that the idea that the society is not ready. So we are too too old-fashioned, I'd rather say, society. So, well, that we are absolutely different. That you know, it's not the idea to return back to the archaic past, and some of that people are just trying to push us to use these old-fashioned norms, but we still I have the hope that the result of the research gave me a lot of encouragement. So 81% of the population of Ukraine think principally, and they accept the very important things that Ukraine should become the very functional democratic country, and the gender equality is the part of the democracy principle of the society, and this is the so-called the self-determination society, the society with the so-called professional evaluated society. And we do have, they say that we do have enough women in the parliament, but it's not enough, but it's not 55%. But our research says that today in Ukraine we have 81% of women and 73% of men. They think that it's very important, extremely important, the problem to provide the gender equality for all. So that is why we have social support, and we have the social order, by the way, just to mobilize ourselves and to provide more systematic long-term decisions to involve men and women into the process of equal opportunities, and then also for the process of decision-making on this very issue. So, well, it's not reversible. We are just, we are not back, and the Russian world should not support this idea so well, and
Understand this is a part of the protocol, so thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Дякуємо, пані Анастасія, дякуємо усім учасникам та учасницям і запрошуємо до спільного фото на сцені. А усіх наших гостей просимо не розходитись, ми продовжимо роботу за 2-3 хвилинки. Шановні пані та панове, просимо вас залишатися на своїх місцях. Не розходьтеся, будь ласка.